Okay, recording on the screen. Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Linda from the Upper Saddle River Library. I'd like to welcome back Jennifer Shukaitis from the Rutgers Cooperative Extension. She's with the Family and Community Health Services group of it, and she'll go into that with you. She and I were going back saying we first did these. It's now been a couple of interesting topics that we've gone through, and I know you're going to talk about more about what you guys are offering and how people can access the webinars as well. So with that, I'll let her take it away with the unexpected health benefits of gardening.
Great. Thanks so much, Linda, for the introduction, and hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. As Linda said, my name is Jennifer Shukaitis, and I'm coming to you today from Rutgers Cooperative Extension. And before we get started with the topic for today, talking about the benefits of gardening, I'm going to just take a couple minutes to talk to you about cooperative extension so that you, if you haven't heard of us, you become more familiar with us, and also so you just know where I'm coming from. So cooperative extension, it's a national system. It was established a little over 100 years ago. There is a cooperative extension in every state in the country, and the cooperative extension is run out of the land-grant university in every state. So in New Jersey, that's Rutgers. And so 100 years ago, people didn't have access to, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have Google, we didn't have such ready access to all this information right at our fingertips like we do today. And some very smart person said, hey, there really needs to be a way for all of the great information, research, resources, everything that's in these universities around the country to reach the rest of the people, to be available to the community. So cooperative extension, there was an act that was passed. For any history buffs, if you feel like looking up the Smith-Lever Act, the Smith-Lever Act was passed and the cooperative extension was established. And we were established to do just that, to provide a reliable way for research and evidence-based information and programming and education to reach the community. So within cooperative extension, there are three main departments. One is agriculture and natural resources. So they work not only with the farming community, but also with home gardeners. So those of you who are attending today are probably going to want to pay attention to that, how to access that department, which I'll talk a little bit more, a little bit later on. The next department is 4-H. That's our youth development department. I'm sure most, if not all of you have heard of 4-H. They are the ones who normally run the county fairs, which I know didn't happen last year due to COVID restrictions. But if you've ever been to a county fair, they are the ones who run the county fair and also run a wealth of other youth development programming. And then the third department is my department, which is Family and Community Health Sciences. And the faculty and staff in my department do education and programming in the areas of wellness, health and nutrition, and food. And so the great thing about working with cooperative extension is that the information that is presented to you is based on evidence and research, not like the latest fad diet or anything like that. The cooperative extension is a county-based system. In New Jersey, there are cooperative extension offices in all 21 counties. There are, well, from my department, we have educators like myself that work in 17 of those 21 counties. I'm a statewide person, so I'm actually based at Rutgers in New Brunswick, but I work statewide. There are staff and faculty from the other departments in all of the 21 county offices. So if you are a home gardener and want to access your local agriculture extension agent, they are available as a free resource to you, provided by Rutgers. So, so that's my little spiel on Rutgers Cooperative Extension. So now that you know where I'm coming from, we can get started with the topic for today, which is the unexpected benefits of gardening. I'm talking mainly about health benefits, but I added a few things also at the end that are additional benefits as well. So I took out the health, but we're going to talk mainly about the health benefits. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk, I'm just going to give you a little background on gardening and who gardens, and the benefits of just being outside, which is a big part of gardening. The physical benefits of gardening and the mental health benefits of gardening. I'm going to talk about gardening and older adults, and then also kids and gardens. and how people of all ages can benefit from gardening. So first of all, I just need to move this out of my way here, my screen. Okay, so the dirt on gardening, so to speak. So approximately 1/3 of the population of the United States participates in gardening. That's about 117 million people. Gardening is second only to walking as the most common leisure time physical activity. The great thing about gardening, as far as physical activity, is that it tends to keep you engaged. Those who participate in gardening tend to get more time in actual physical activity than a lot of other activities, such as walking or running. In fact, those who participate in gardening are likely to stay engaged an average of 40 to 50 minutes longer than those who walk or bike. We'll talk about a little bit more about why that's important in a minute. Those who garden are able to just access the wealth of health benefits and other benefits that it has to offer. So first, simply being in the great outdoors is beneficial. Gardening, most gardening anyway, occurs outdoors. There are indoor gardens, and there's greenhouses, and maybe you start your seedlings or something inside and then move them outside. But for the most part, the vast majority of gardening takes place outside. So just being outside is good for you. Being in the sunshine, right? Sunlight is a stimulator of vitamin D production in our bodies. Vitamin D helps with calcium absorption, bone growth, and immune system functioning. Just 15 minutes of sunshine on your arms and legs. So if you want to just push your sleeves up just for a few minutes, let your skin absorb that sunshine during the warmer seasons like spring and summer, that's enough to meet your vitamin D requirements for the day for most people. Okay. It's also the most efficient way for your body to produce vitamin D. Yes, you can take supplements. I know there's been some extra attention on vitamin D since COVID, since it was recognized as being good for immunity. And yes, you can take supplements, and that's fine. But really, the best way, the most efficient way to get your vitamin D is just to be outside. Okay. Wait, before I go on to the soil. Sunlight also increases serotonin levels in your brain. Okay, serotonin is a hormone that helps you to relax and feel good. So the more time you spend outside, I don't think you need research to tell you that you just feel better when you get to go outside more often, right? We all have experienced that, especially after a long winter like we've just had. Soil. Soil is host to many varieties of bacteria, many of which are beneficial. One of those is called Mycobacterium vaccae. A couple of benefits of this type of bacteria, Mycobacterium vaccae, include a boost to your immune system, as well as, again, increased serotonin levels in your brain. So you're getting those boosts of serotonin, not just from the sunshine, but also from bacteria in the soil. And your exposure to the soil, it can either be, absorbed through the skin if you're, using your hands, or even just breathing in. Studies have shown that just being close to the soil and breathing it in can help you to experience the benefits of this beneficial bacteria. Being in the green, just being outside, being among nature, there's lots of studies on this that shows that it can actually help you improve your focus. So I know that I've been seeing a lot of things, that during lockdown, during quarantine, a lot of people feel a little scattered, a little, unable to focus. So now that it's getting warmer out, highly recommend getting outside, getting in that green. There's even been some studies that have shown that it can help people with ADHD to focus better. So if you feel yourself, being a little more unfocused than normal, or if care about someone who has ADHD, try to get them outside, get them gardening a little more. It may actually help them to improve their focus. No gym, no problem. Especially now, a lot of gyms I know are closed down, or maybe you don't feel comfortable going inside to a gym nowadays. So gardening is actually considered a moderate intensity physical activity. It has the ability to get your heart pumping. Okay. Gardening includes lots of different physical activities, different things that we do while we're gardening. So like raking, pruning, pulling weeds, mowing, digging, right? All these things are physical activity, and they get your heart pumping, get your heart, that exercise that it needs. It's also a whole body activity. as opposed to walking or running, which really just, mainly exercises your lower body, your legs, those large muscle groups. Gardening is a whole body activity. I mean, consider, that you're bending over. So that's your core, you're walking around, you are using your arms. So that's your upper body. So it engages your whole body in physical activity, not just one muscle group. Studies have shown that depending on the exact type of activity that you're engaging in while you're gardening, you can burn between 250 and 500 calories an hour just from gardening. So just to continue talking a little more about the physical activity benefits that you can get from gardening. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which is, the CDC, they recommend aiming for 150 minutes weekly of moderate intensity to high intensity physical activity. And that's for heart health, to maintain good heart health. That works out to about 20 to 30 minutes per day. Again, we saw at the beginning that people who participate in gardening tend to stay engaged and physically active longer than other activities. So if you're gardening every day, you're gonna get way more than the 150-minute minimum recommendation from the CDC. The 150 minutes, studies have shown that engaging in this amount of activity per week can help to prevent a number of diseases, including cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis. And so when you are engaged in gardening, you're going to get this amount of activity without, really even trying or intentionally doing any other, high intensity exercise. Also, it can help to lower your blood pressure engaging in that type of activity or that amount of activity per week. Gardening has also been shown to improve fine motor skill and dexterity. So not only is it a whole body, moderate intensive, physical activity that engages all the muscle groups, but even your fine motor skills it can help to develop, right? Because it takes a lot of paying attention to the details that are in the garden, whether it's, from weeding or pruning or planting. So it can help to improve that as well. For older adults, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later, it actually can help to reduce the risk of falling, engaging in 150 minutes of activity per week. And engaging in physical activity helps to improve your sleep. And I have been reading a lot lately about a lot of people who are also experiencing trouble sleeping during this pandemic for, I'm sure a number of reasons. And so as a result of that, there's also been a lot of studies that have come out reviewing the benefits of sleep. And we are just learning more and more about how incredibly beneficial and necessary it is for you to get good sleep. So getting that physical activity will absolutely help you to improve the quality of your sleep as well as help you sleep for longer periods of time. So fresh picked pride. So gardening can also offer a number of social emotional health benefits as well. First of all, a sense of purpose, right? Gardening offers participants a sense of purpose. You can grow what you like, so that is motivating for you to continue to garden. Growing your own fruits, vegetables, or flowers can definitely offer a self-esteem boost. Okay? Tending to plants gives you a sense of agency. The plant is a living thing, so that makes you want to keep it alive, so that you have to take care of it. So it offers a sense of purpose and agency. One of the great nutritional benefits of engaging in gardening, you can pick that produce, the fruits and vegetables. If you're growing fruits and vegetables, you can pick it right when it's ripe. In general, people tend to garden right, in their own backyard or front yard, or in a community garden that's close by. So that means that when the piece of fruit or the vegetable is at its peak ripeness, you can pick it right away and then eat it very close to when you pick it. The reason this is important is because as time passes after a fruit or vegetable is picked, that fruit or vegetable tends to decrease, over time in nutritional value, right? So when you go to the grocery store, especially, in the winter, when you go to the grocery store in February and you see strawberries, those strawberries did not come from anywhere close by, being that we live in New Jersey. Right, strawberries do not grow anywhere in the tri-state area or anywhere near here in February. So when you are at the grocery store buying fruits and vegetables, especially in the colder weather, that means you're going to be buying produce that has come from a great distance. So whether that's California or, South America, it could be any number of places. So that means that that fruit or vegetable has been, picked at, whatever point it was picked, and then it was cleaned, and then it was sorted, and then it was packaged, and then it was shipped, and then it was, sorted again to go to your grocery store, and then you get the picture, right? So you really don't have any real sense of how much time has passed in between when that food was picked and when you buy it, and then when you actually eat it, right? So when you grow your own fruits and vegetables, you are able to take advantage of the maximum nutrition that those fruits and vegetables have to offer, because you can pick it right away and then eat it, right away as well. Okay, I'm going to talk just briefly about older adults and gardens. Gardening, there's actually been studies that have shown that gardening decreases the risk of dementia. There was a big study that was done a few years ago that surveyed a number of people and found that those who participated in gardening actually were less likely to develop dementia. Now, whether that's just exposure to the sun or whether it's, whatever gardening actually, the actual specific activity, but that was a study that was done that I thought was super interesting. So that is a benefit for as we age that we can benefit from. Bone health. As we grow older, our risk for osteoporosis increases, especially in women, but for men and women alike. I mentioned before that when you're outside, your body is more likely, it's better to develop vitamin D when you're outside. That's the most efficient way for your body to produce vitamin D, which is extremely important in bone health. So being outside can help to improve your bone health. So for older adults, that may help to decrease the risk of osteoporosis and also falling. And if you fall, it decreases your risk of injury from falls, like from fractures. Gardening combats loneliness. And this is true for really anybody, but I'm putting it under older adults here because studies show that older adults are at increased risk for loneliness than other age groups. So I'm including it here, although it really could be applicable to any age group. Being outside, again, and having a sense of agency can combat loneliness, but also older adults who participate in a community garden, which are more common in like adult communities, that can actually help to decrease the sense of loneliness. Okay, exercise, as I mentioned before. Gardening definitely helps you get those 150 minutes of exercise per week that the CDC recommends. Exercise in older adults decreases the risk of falls. So getting that, the vitamin D for your bone health, and then also getting that exercise to help decrease your risk of falls can help older adults to enjoy much better health. Kids in gardens. So I have a lot to say about kids in gardens. I'm going to start with the health benefits here. First of all, if kids participate in gardening, they may actually enjoy improved nutrition, because guess what? If a kid grows it, they will eat it, most likely. Okay, even the most neophobic, that's a word for kids who are afraid of trying new things, especially when it comes to vegetables. Even the kids who are most afraid of trying new things or trying vegetables are more likely to eat something if they have actually participated in growing that thing. So if they have, planted a seed and then watched that little seedling grow, and then watch the leaves develop, and then, watch that little fruit or vegetable start to grow, it's going to, inspire a sense of curiosity and desire to eat that. So they may actually enjoy improved nutrition just from participating in gardening. Social emotional development and learning. Again, this can be applied to any age group, but I know, I have young kids, and so the schools I know these days are putting a huge emphasis on social emotional development and learning. So I wanted to include this under the benefits for kids. First of all, a sense of responsibility. Kids can develop can enjoy a sense of responsibility from participating in gardening, ensuring that a plant stays alive. That's a big piece of responsibility for that kid. A sense of pride, just knowing that they planted this little tiny seed and then it grew into something that somebody could eat. I mean, that's a major way for kids to get a sense of pride from something that they accomplished. Cooperation. Usually kids aren't gardening alone, and so that means they have to work with people to make sure that a garden is successful. So they've got to figure out, how to work with others to make it work. Patience. Plants will only grow as fast as they will grow. You can't really do anything to make them grow any faster. So it takes patience and waiting, and for that plant to grow, and maybe for that fruit or vegetable to grow, and then to be able to pick it and eat it. So it can also help kids to develop patience. And these are just a few things as far as the social emotional development and learning that kids can benefit from, but I'm sure there are many others as well. So those are kind of the health benefits for kids, but there's more as well. So the garden is really a classroom in and of itself. Many academic subjects can be emphasized in the garden. So for example, math. If you have 8 square feet of a garden and you have to plant the seeds a certain number of inches apart, and how many can we plant and how far apart do they have to be? I mean, this is a very real life application of math. Science, obviously there's endless possibilities for science lessons. There's the life cycle, there's photosynthesis, there's nutrition science. I mean, you can go on and on about the lessons of science that can be learned in the garden. Art. I've actually seen, my sister's an art teacher, so I of course had to include this. She works in a middle school, and her school has a school garden, and she actually will take the kids out there to help them get inspired to draw, the plants that they see, the trees that they see, and just be inspired by being in nature. Literacy. Having kids keep a journal for when they plant seeds, or any, seeds for anything, for vegetables, fruits, flowers, anything. Have them write down, today, on this date, I planted a seed, and then have them just observe and write down what they see. 3 days later, I saw a little green thing pop up, now it's a seedling. They can even learn new vocabulary from being in the garden that they might not learn any other place. There have actually been a number of studies that have shown a connection between improved academic achievement and kids participating in gardening. Whether it's because these things can just be emphasized, these subjects can be emphasized in the garden, or what, but that has been there have been studies that have shown that connection. For kids who tend to learn better with the kinesthetic or hands-on learning style, now, in case you're not familiar, there tend to be 3 main learning styles for most people, right? There's auditory learning, which is those who learn best when they hear something. There is the visual learning style, so those who learn best when they see something, so by reading or watching, somebody write on the board or do something. And then there's the kinesthetic style, which is learning by doing, really being hands-on. There are a lot of people who just learn best that way. It's also the type of learning style that tends to not exist as commonly in classrooms as the auditory and visual learning styles. So the garden really offers a built-in hands-on kinesthetic learning environment for kids to learn all the subjects that I mentioned before, and more as well. There are lots of school garden lessons that are tied actually to the core curriculum. And so I'll be sending an email as a follow-up probably tomorrow morning, that will have some resources for you, including some lessons, or where to find some lessons that you can tie to the core curriculum if you're someone who's interested in that. Okay, so now that we know that there are all these wonderful benefits to gain just from gardening, if you're ready to start, Rutgers can help. We have lots and lots and lots of resources to help home gardeners. So this is a webinar series that a Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Middlesex County is putting on. They've already done a few sessions. There is an archive of these sessions, so if you're interested in watching them, I will send the link that you can just click on, and you can look at the past ones that they've done. This is just an example of one that they did. So they did one on April 1st called Planning a Backyard Vegetable Garden, and they had a number of others as well. And I think they still have a few more to go. So if you're interested in attending live, it's a great opportunity to be able to ask questions of a Rutgers Cooperative Extension agriculture agent and get their, have their attention right there to ask any questions that you may have. Okay, there's also the Rutgers Master Gardeners program, and this is another program that's run out of Rutgers Cooperative Extension. Most counties in New Jersey have a Master Gardeners program, not all. I will be sending a link where you can find your closest Master Gardeners program. What this is, it's a program that actually certifies you to become a Master Gardener. And when the Master Gardeners have completed like their main training, they are then required to participate or to give back with a certain number of volunteer hours to get their final certification. So this means that they are available to anyone who has questions about gardening, whether you're an individual or a school or an organization that has a garden. You can call up the Master Gardeners and say, hey, come, can you come and help, or can you answer this question for me? And it's free. They have a free helpline. And so I will get you the information for that. Please keep in mind, if you call the helpline, these are people who are outdoors and they're volunteers. So there's not someone sitting there manning the desk, 9 to 5. So leave a message. They are responsive. They will get back to you, but they are volunteers. And so especially this time of year, they tend to be outside a lot more than they're in. So have a little patience, leave a message, and someone will return your call. Okay, there's lots of Rutgers fact sheets that people like myself and my colleagues that we write about all different topics, including these that might help to support you in your gardening. So we have fact sheets on school gardens. We have a fact sheet on age-appropriate activities for kids of all ages in the garden. We have a fact sheet on how to plant a vegetable garden, and we also have a fact sheet on gardening with seniors. If you are someone who, if you're an older adult, or if you're planting a garden with someone who's an older adult, then there are some special considerations that you might want to take into account. So I'll send that fact sheet as well. And then finally, the New Jersey Department of Agriculture, actually this graphic that you're looking at here with all the different color stripes and the black lines, excuse me, that's called the New Jersey seasonality chart. This is published by the New Jersey Department of Agriculture. And this is a wonderful, handy little resource. It's free. I will send you the link to download it. And this lists a number of different fruits and vegetables that grow in New Jersey, and it tells you when to plant, how long they take to grow, and then the ideal time to harvest them. So for example, I'm just looking here. So let's see, asparagus, right? You plant it in April, then if you go across there, that's that black line. Planted in April, can harvest it in June. So it's a really handy dandy little guide, and again, I'll send the link for that. Okay. Okay, so now that you know all this, it's time to get out there, get gardening. I will send those resources probably tomorrow. We have a kids softball practice tonight, so I'm gonna have to run out of here when we're done, but I'll get it to you tomorrow morning. Here is my contact information. I'm also gonna email Linda, so she'll have my contact information. So if you want to email me with any follow-up questions, I'm happy to answer what I can. And now I'm happy to take questions. We have plenty of time for questions. So, and actually, while I'm answering questions, I do have an evaluation. If you wouldn't mind, it's very helpful for me if you can just click on this link. I'm going to put it in the chat box. Oh, somebody said, "Don't sorry for the mess behind me." Oh gosh, please don't worry about it. I have 3 kids. I don't know what a clean house looks like. So I'm going to put a link in the chat box, and if you wouldn't mind clicking on it, and then it'll have a few questions on there. Okay, there you go. It's a very long link. So this is an evaluation. It just asks you questions about today's session that I just finished. It's very helpful for Rutgers to understand what audiences we're reaching. It's also helpful for me to understand, if there's anything that I could be changing about my programming. It's anonymous. I have no idea who's filling these out. You don't put your name or anything, so feel free to be honest. These go to Rutgers, and then they summarize the results. They come back to me. I absolutely have made changes to my programming based on feedback from my participants. So yeah, I appreciate if you have anything to add. It should take you about 3 minutes. It's mostly multiple choice. So while we're taking questions, you can go ahead and just fill that out while we're doing that. And okay, we can get started with questions if you want.
Well, I wanted to say thank you to Jennifer. And as she mentioned before, she will be giving all that information, and then I will do a follow-up email to this group. It really is so helpful. And I am intrigued about that. I know you guys do the Wellness Wednesdays, which we were discussing on, which just has so many interesting topics. Again, always available. People could go back, but to have the gardening as well, that's something I didn't know before. So I'm curious about that. So I will let somebody else, if you want to unmute yourself, if you have a particular question, or if you want to put something in the chat and I'll read it, or let me know.
Hi, I'm unmuted. Hi. It was my mess. I just moved yesterday. So that's why. It's not how my house usually looks.
Oh my, you just moved and you joined us? Oh, well, I'm honored. Thank you.
No, I really enjoyed your presentation, and I'm looking forward to the resources that you have for gardeners and things like that. And also curious if Bergen County has a Master Gardeners program. I imagine it does.
I realized when I was saying that I really should have checked, and if you'll give me a second to.
No, we actually do. We've had them. There is a Bergen County Masters Gardeners. They've done some programs for the Upper Saddle River Library.
Okay.
You remember the gardening tour of Europe? I think.
Yes, yeah, I was there. It was fantastic.
Arnie is one of them.
So,
I can send out the information for that as well.
I'm putting the
They are very helpful.
Yeah,
as Jennifer was
they're
saying.
good people.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious about, I mean, maybe not so much in our area, and I got workers here, so I got to shut my door too. What I was curious about was, community gardens. You know, I know, like, for example, in Europe, they're very popular when space is tight and things like that.
Yeah.
Just from a, maybe from a policy perspective, do you see, especially now with COVID and everything, there was a lot of push towards gardening and, those patriot gardens that people were doing, or the victory gardens.
Yeah.
See more of a push towards, community gardens and things like that across the state? I mean, we are the garden state, right?
Yeah. That's a good question. I haven't seen anything specific. I know that I'm in New Brunswick, and there are a couple of community gardens right here in New Brunswick, and there are a number of organizations that do community gardens. I don't have any data on like whether they've increased or what the numbers are since COVID. I know that when we first started lockdown, last year, I can tell you that the demand for Rutgers gardening programs did increase. If that's an indication, probably. Yeah. I mean, people were home, and at that point, we had started lockdown in March. And so we had the whole spring and summer ahead of us. So I think people were looking for something to do, and maybe something that, was good for their health. So if that's an indication, then yeah.
I was just curious, both my husband and I are city planners. We actually graduated from Blaustein, right?
Oh, cool. My husband too.
Well, there you go. So I was just curious, there's been a lot of talk about, towns. We also represent Upper Saddle River and Saddle River, about perhaps we're looking at our master plans and looking at ordinances that would allow for community gardens and things like that. So I had you here. I figured I'd ask the question.
Yeah.
If you knew of anything, but I'll just contact Rutgers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's better to contact your local person, because I'm not in Bergen County, so I could tell you more about the ordinances in New Brunswick, but yeah.
I'm happy to go down and visit New Brunswick.
Yeah. One thing I know that has come up in New Brunswick is keeping backyard. Not that this is specifically about gardening, but as a keeping chickens. That's been a big thing.
Oh yeah, we've had a lot of that. People
have you? Okay.
Trying to, chicken coops, or even, sheep, and things like that. So especially around here where we have 1 acre and 2 acre zoning.
Right.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's great with the whole locavore push, and restaurants as well, people in general. It's just a full circle, you're gardening at home, but you're also expecting fresh foods where you go out to eat, and farmers markets. And
right. And that's an environmental issue too, because if we don't have to spend all the money on, or use the fuels for transportation, that's that can have a positive impact on the environment as well. So yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And as you said too, we don't need you to get the health benefits of this, and you touched a little bit on the mental health as well as focus. Our library is doing a make and take for adults, crafts. We call it Craft Your Calm Mindfulness. And again, gardening, where you're saying about the focus, it is a way to get your mind into your habit. It can be not a true meditation, but it can be very
A
mindful.
mindful activity.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
100%.
sure.
Besides the physical one, the mental
Mhm.
aspect of it, and as you said, and to being outside as well. So do we have any other questions? And again, like I said, we will do a follow-up. I know it's great to have somebody that has all the information at her fingertips. It's nice.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat, but yeah, we're a small group. So like Linda said, feel free to unmute yourself if that's easier too.
Anybody has any other questions for this time?
And that the evaluation link is there. And if you, like, we can stop the session, you can continue the evaluation later. So if you want to just save it.
And I will send it out as well with
Oh, great. Okay.
as one of the links in the follow-up email.
Thank you.
So again, thank you once again, Jennifer, for coming to us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having
Giving
me.
us information. It really is helpful. And again, anybody else, any other questions before I end up with this meeting? Well, now it's a gorgeous day, guys.
Yeah.
Let's get out there.
Yeah.
Let's start pulling the weeds. and gearing up against the deer. Let's do all those things.
Never ending battle.
Never ending. All right, well, thank you very much. And thank you everybody for attending. And we will see you all very soon.
Hey, thanks everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.